Hello, everybody. How are you today? I'm Melissa with Practically Creative, and we are going to make a Dutch rose block today. Say hello in chat. We are going to be making a block that, yes, I know the meeting is being, and this is, excuse me. Hey, Sherlock. This is my version of it. Of course, it's going to blur it out. Hey, Lori, how are you? Lori and Sherlock, I'm blessed. I have two of you. I wanted to show you the block up front because I'm going to do news first for everybody that wants to have details of stuff. If you're watching this on replay, I appreciate the watch. It will be a few minutes before I actually start the block. So if you're a newbie and you're here just to see how to make the block, when I put up the live as a final video, I'll put a timestamp in the description box. Got to think of what it's called today so that you know where the sewing starts, because I do have a few things I want to go through before we start on this. First off, we are having a sewing bee on Saturday, March the 4th. International Sewing Bee. I know that Colleen will be there. Sylvia will be there if she's feeling up to it. That's the international part. She's in the Great Britain in the UK. And it starts at 9 a.m. Eastern time. You don't have to make the same pattern that we're making. We are making the Shamrock Table Runner from Stephanie at Stephanie Stitches. And I have been telling everybody, go over to Stephanie's Supply Shop on Etsy, buy the pattern, etc. One problem with that, Stephanie's out of town and has closed her shop temporarily while she's out of town. But you can still buy the pattern. It should be the shop should be reopened on Sunday, so you'll still have plenty of time to make it if you want to before St. Patrick's Day. It's a really easy sew. I sewed up my top yesterday because I'm going to be the hostess with the mostest on Saturday, and I want to make sure that I have time to be able to interact with everybody. So it's really simple sew. Took me, I don't know, about 30 minutes to sew it, 15, 20 minutes to cut it. So it wasn't bad, not bad at all. So Steph will be open on Sunday and you can buy the pattern then. It's only $5 and we're having surprise guests. I don't even know who else coming. Colleen is handling that. And she's not here today. Her husband's having a doctor's appointment and she went with him because, you know, sometimes you need to do that. Yeah, super Steph. But Colleen is at 810. I'm going to go over numbers real quick. So she's growing like a weed, which is awesome. Sylvia's at 695. I've got to make my congratulations video for both of them. Colleen's growing so fast I didn't even get a congratulations video for 700 out. And looks like Sylvia's going to be there in about a minute too. And then I'm also tracking, my brain just went to Dawn at my quilt projects. She's at 778, so she's knocking on 100 also. I'm going to get a drink because I sound hoarse to me. And Super Stuff is at 12.1K, so she's growing super fast too. So that means she's got 12,100 people. Hello, I can't even imagine that number. But I'm super impressed and super happy for Super Stuff. See what I did there? And then I got Happy Mail yesterday. And I've already taken it out of the box, but I haven't unwrapped it yet. I don't know if you guys have ever seen one of these, and my is not going to show it well. I got a snap hoop monster for my embroidery machine, And this is supposed to make it a whole lot easier for me to hoop like quilts to do in the hoop quilting. Yes, yay to everybody on their numbers. And it's magnetic. That's what this little piece in here is for, is to keep it from snapping together. Like I said, I haven't even opened it yet, and I don't want to get it too close to my computer or to my phone because I don't want the magnet to mess anything up. Um, but you guys will probably get some videos on that. I have a quilt that I want to do some edge to edge quilting on, and my regular hoop for my brother, my Baby Lock Flourish 2, didn't seem to want to hold the fabric. I don't know yet, Sherlock, but you're definitely going to see there will be shorts or longer videos coming out about that. So I've got my fingers crossed that that'll work okay. All right. Now, I think that's all the news. So this is 5 or 6 minutes into the chat, so I've got to make sure I do my timestamp. Is there anything I've forgotten, Lori? Got to make sure I've got all my little ducks in a row before I switch over. Because when I switch over to the other camera, I actually have two camera views for you guys, and I will show you both of them and let you see which one you like better. As far as being able to watch me make this block, I'm probably not going to be super watching the chat because my sewing machine is over to my right and my computer's to my left. So I'm definitely dependent on my mods today to make sure that everything stays hunky-dory in the chat. And this block it's not hard, but it is somewhat complicated. Yep, I can show the block again. This is the block that I made. Hopefully it's not blurring it out. Let me show you this camera view and see if that helps. It looked better whenever I was previewing it. There you go. That way you can see the whole block. Now mine has been ironed and starched to within a 1/4 inch of its life. And I'm not sure that it's coming through quite. It's like neon colors, neon yellow, neon green. Here's my drawing of it. My oh so not good drawing. But I also used this as my placement template whenever I was making the first block. I'm going to set it up out of the way. And this is where we're aiming for. And we're going to get started here. Let me show you the other angle and see if it works better as far as you being able to see what I'm doing. I don't think it does. I think the closer one is better. What do you think, Lori? Hi, Wanda. Thank you. I'm going between two different views that I have going today. That's on my cutting table, and the first step we need to do is there. And then I can, once I get ready to start sewing, then I can take you up to the higher view so you can see that. How's that? Okay. All right, so this is the block that we're making, and I'm going to set it aside. I did put cutting instructions for the basic fabrics on my community tab page yesterday, and we're going to prepare all of the fabrics for what needs to be done next. But I'm just going to go ahead and do all of this at once, and you can follow along if you've cut the fabric. And if you haven't, then when you watch the video, you can go back and stop it at whatever point that you need. But I'm going to get everything ready to go. What I'm doing right now is I'm lining up my 4 3 3/4 inch blocks so that they are exactly lined up, because I'm going to cut these. And I'm going to cut these twice. I had to make one of these because I was like, I don't particularly love the way that they made these flying geese, but I think the way they made these flying geese is easier than turning them into half square triangles. I did try one of those blocks and it came out a little too wonky for my taste. It didn't come out to the right size. So all I'm doing now is I'm taking the 3 3/4 inch blocks and I'm cutting them into 4 pieces. So I have this, and I made sure that all of my fabrics were right side up when I did this. And I'm just going to stack them up and put them back on my design board. I need 4 of them up front, so I'm going to set those over here on my sewing machine. And then I have taken 6 of the green blocks and I have marked them, and I'm not sure if you can see that mark. I marked them with a pencil, and all I did was I took my ruler and my pencil and I went across from corner to corner and just marked it with the pencil. So it's marked in half. And then I'm going to take each one of these green ones and I'm going to put it with a pink block. And you don't have to use the colors I used. You can use any combination of colors. I did do a white background because that's what I wanted. And then I thought the pink and green together were pretty, and I think they came out well in the block that I did. And I was tempted to go ahead and sew these before I started the live, but I thought if I'm going to show you how to make it, especially for beginners, I want to show you how to make it from beginning to end. And then let's see if I can just make it so you only see one screen for a minute. It's not going to let me do that. Not without leaving the account completely. Hello, Nancy. How are you today? Well, thank you, Sherlock. I appreciate that. 2 of the cancers are gone. The other 2 are still the same. All praise. Oh, awesome, Nancy. I definitely will keep praying for your husband. Awesome, awesome. That is wonderful. Okay, so one more green and pink combination. And then on these 4 here, I need to take 4 of the pinks and stack them up. And you can cut these one at a time if you would prefer. I did the first time I made this block. And it is a little fiddly to stack these up. It was a little tough on my hand, excuse me, to cut these the way I wanted to cut them. You're only cutting the pinks once, and I'm not worried that they went a little bit wonky there. Because after I sew these blocks, I'm going to be making 4 flying geese with total pink sides. Colleen did send me a hack on how to do 4 flying geese at a time, but the measurements that she had were for flying geese that were a slightly different size than what I need. So I decided that I would go ahead and do them this way, since I end up needing a total of 16, I think, flying geese in this. Okay, so now we're set up to start sewing. And I'm going to switch the camera view so you guys can see the other camera. And I thought that one showed the sewing machine. Let me move it a little tiny bit so it does. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here, I've got my little blade cutter there. I'm going to chain piece these 6 that are going to be HSTs. And I'm going to start right there, make sure I've got everything on the sizes that I want, and let's sew. So see, we're already sewing and we're only what, 6 or 7 minutes in? And I want that to go down. And I'm just gonna start right here and keep right on trucking. There used to be a wrestler guy who always said, let's get ready to rumble. But I think that nobody remembers him but me. Because every time I say it, everybody looks at me like I'm crazy. I may be. I may be. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm coughing today. I took all my medicines. I even took a muscle relaxer so that when I sewed this, I wouldn't be hurting. All right, so now that we've sewn those 6 that way, I'm going to turn them around and I'm going to sew down the other side of them. This is why I was like, should I go ahead and sew these? Because I think you guys all know how to sew HSTs, but like I said, since I was doing it as a beginner block or as a beginner tutorial, I thought it might be better if I did it this way on the camera. One other thing is I do have a video that I'm going to put out with how to cut this. It's not hard to cut. It's just time consuming and exacting. You guys all know that I dislike 2 1/8 inch squares of anything. And this is just ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. But for the block to fit right, you do need 2 1/8 inch squares. I'm going to bring my little blade over here. Can you guys see that? I'll put it up here. And I'm going to separate out all of my little squares. And I've already got the iron heating up so that we can iron everything when we get to that point. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew one side of all of my flying geese first. Yeah, I love good chain piecing too. Saves so much thread. Now when I'm putting these together, because of these funky little flying geese, I'm making sure I line up the bottoms to match. And then I'm going to do my 1/4 inch seam from the corner over here towards the top. And I'm going to do all 4 of them. And then we'll come back and do the other side. But you notice I'm just leaving everything right where it belongs on the table. The big thing for me on this block was making sure that everything stayed in the place it belongs. And that is the hardest part of this block, in my opinion, is keeping the pieces in the right order. I was definitely grateful that I had drawn up the block before I started on my piece of paper here, because this piece of paper saved my booty, kept me on track. Seeing the pattern in the block helps a lot, but I don't usually see that's not a skill for me. It's not a major skill. I'll line this back up here. And this right here is why we have muscle relaxers, because this is where it gets all fitting. All right. So all of those are sewn together. Bring our this little daisy blade thing is awesome. I have another version from someone else, and I thought, oh, I don't need that one, but I like that one. It actually works out pretty well. Now, before I do the next section of these, I'm just going to finger press here, and then I'm going to take it over to my iron and apply just a little tiny bit of heat, and then put the other side of this on. And I'm not pressing side to side, I'm kind of rolling so that whenever I lay these down, they don't stretch. So I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of heat on there. Tip, if you make your design boards out of tape, with tape edges, you don't want to hit that with the iron. So then I'm just going to lay these all back down where they go, because I'm a visual person. And then I'm going to take the next piece and I'm going to put it on here. And we haven't abandoned those HSTs. They're still coming. But I wanted to get these center ones done, or these center flying geese, because I need them for the first part of the sewing of the block. My thread is trying to catch there. Oh, look at Sherlock killing it over there, putting in all the links. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate it. Now, does anybody have questions about what I'm doing so far? And those of you who came in later, I did news at the very beginning. I will go back at the end, depending on time. But because this block is a lot of little pieces, I wanted to get started on it ASAP so that you guys could see how it's made. And this is a far cry from the block we did last week. Last week was probably the easiest block in the box. And I don't know that this one's the most complicated, but this one is fairly complicated. So I wanted to do, and I'll probably try to do that all the way through this box, is do one that's really easy and then one that's fairly complicated. Not only for your guys' sake, but for mine as well. Because it takes me a little bit longer to figure out the complicated blocks and figure out an easier way to do them. I thought that HSTs would be easier on this one, but they're not, I don't think. All right, so now we're going to push. And I was going to do this on my Juki, because the Juki's got a thread cutter, but I want to do it on a domestic machine for beginners so that you guys all have a better idea of how to do this for yourselves. Because, thread cutters don't come standard on most machines. You can chain piece on almost any machine, but this is how I'm doing it. And the reason I want to chain piece is because it saves thread and it makes it easier. A little heat. Bring them back over here and I'm going to lay them out so you can see them. And you can see I'm going to have to probably square those up a little bit. So let's do that right now. Well, first let's cut our HSTs because they're going to need squaring as well. And this is easy. Rotary cutter, whatever rotary cutter you use, line up your rotary cutter right along the line you drew. You act up on me. I love my Martelli, but some days. Now I want to sing Neil Diamond songs to it. Some days are diamonds. Is that right? Is that Neil Diamond? I'm apart. Can you guys all see okay? I don't press open. I usually press to one side. From the looks of my other block though, this would probably be a good one to choose to press open. It's just not my thing. And with as small as this is, I'm almost afraid to press open. And I made one up front because I wanted to make sure that I could do, let's set this over here while I do this part. No, 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 no. I need that. A little pattern has decided to blow away on me. Oh well. And I'm just finger pressing and I'm just pressing down right there. You guys can't see that. You can see fine at the single. Okay, I'm just making sure. And I'm just like, I kind of want to press everything to the pink because I think it's darker. I appreciate that, guys. And I normally will like unfold all of them and then press them all at once because that works better for my brain for organizational purposes. Has anybody here made this block before? I know it looks a lot like a carpenter's star. I've heard that from a couple of different people. And I think it does too. And it looks, I mean, when I saw the block that was the next one in the box, I was like, really? I didn't want to do it, but hard blocks need to be made too, right? And these will be pretty. Excuse me. I do not know where the frog came from today, guys. Hard blocks need to be made too, and they will look pretty in any kind of quilt that I use them in. You could use these for, I mean, they're only 10.5-inch blocks, but you could use them for quilts, pillows. You could put them in a crazy quilt. You could put them in a deliberate quilt. They could be centerpieces for something. And, you know, especially if you're giving these to a non-quilter, they would be like blown away at how intricate this block is, right? Yeah, I'm definitely ready for spring, Wanda and Shirley and Lori. I'm definitely ready for spring. Even though I live in Florida, it's been really strange around here. It's been still getting pretty cold at night, even though it's getting really warm during the day. That one got short shrift on the seam allowance there, didn't it? All right. And there are 12 of those. Now I'm just going to take my iron and I'm going to give them all a little heat, all going along the grain line. So I'm not going side to side. I'm going like across that diamond right there. So here are all of our little half square triangles. Beauty of a rotary cutter. Take it, and the 2 1/8 measurement that they give you to start with on this brings these out at the exact size that you need. So I'm going to go ahead and just do my dog ears. And the exact size of these HSTs is 1.75 inches each way. You could make 8 at a time HSTs, But like I said, they went wonky on me when I was trying to make them for this block. And when I'm setting these aside, I want to make sure that the pink is always the top color and that the pink is always turned the same direction. Not because there's an instruction on here. There's no instructions. Not on the card block. If you guys have that Quilt Builder card deck, you know instructions are pretty scarce on the ground with that. But I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. And even though it's fiddly taking these dog ears off, it's definitely helpful to get your block together better. Oh yeah, you can do all kinds of stuff. Oh, Wanda's another Michiganer, huh? Are you guys anywhere close to one another? You and Lori? Like I said, I'm in Florida, so the weather down here is on crack. I'm not using my ruler on these just because all I'm doing is cutting off dog ears. I will use my ruler in just a minute when I do the 4 flying geese. And there is, in this block, there is an easy win kind of thing. Let me close that and get rid of the little trash here. So the first thing that you're going to do on here is that center block. I'm just going to make sure my top pieces of my flying geese are straight and get the dog ears off. My shorter ruler would be good for this, but I think I left it in the other round. And then I want to measure my block. And it should be 3 inches long by 1.75. So let's make sure it's all squared up. That ironing mat is making my ruler not like where it's at. Okay, so work for me, not for the man in the moon. Use the right ruler for the right job, right guys? That'll let me square it to the size I need better. 3 by 1.75. And what I did was I lined up the center right here with the 1.75 mark. It didn't get it straight. Sorry, trying to make sure it's all perfected so that it fits right. Because this is definitely an important one to make fit right. If you want your points to match up. And y'all would have laughed at me yesterday if you'd seen me in here going, why isn't this matching the way I want it to? Okay, so now that we have that part done, we get to do, oh, I keep my thumb out of the way there, Sherlock, I promise. And to be such small pieces, there's a ton of stuff. So this is our next part that we're going to sew, and I have to look, because I can never remember if the wings go in or out. And then we have these little 1-inch blocks, or 1 3/4 inch blocks that go right here. That one's off. I've got that one 1/4 inch too long, so I'm making sure to cut it right. A little bit from each end. Okay. So now we're going to sew this little set together, and we'll have the center part of our block. I haven't used the lock block. I have a HST square up ruler from Quilt in a Day that I use that I really like. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to go right straight down this row and put the pieces in. And that keeps everything in the order that I need it. So I'm lining up my center square with the block on the side. It also helps me get my consistent seam allowance. You can't do it with all of this block because of the way it goes together, but you can do it with this portion. I came off. My seam allowance is in 1/4 inch all the way down there. So we got to fix it. There we go. Cut off my extra threads. And when I was making this yesterday, I had my gloves on, and I kept getting it all over my gloves. And I'm just finger pressing here so that I can put the next piece on. And I'm going to make sure that I finger press my seams different directions. So that one went to the right, so this one goes to the left. Probably should have done it the other way around. That's okay. It happens. And it's better to sew with the block that has the point on the top, because then when you get over here to where the point is, you can kind of fiddle if you need to keep your point. This way. So that's what we've got so far. And then let's see, we did that one in, that one in. Out. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to nest my seams at the intersections, and I'm going to sew right down through there. And notice that not cutting those threads kept everything together. So I don't have to worry about, oh, did I turn that the wrong direction? And I'm doing this the Jenny Doan way, which is I put it together, match up the first intersection. And after I get to the first intersection, then I match up the second intersection. So there's one, and there's two. And so that is the center of our block already put together. Oh, Sherlock, I thought you were talking about me cutting not far from the tip of my thumb. I didn't realize you were talking about where you live. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, I don't see any questions. You guys all, well, you guys seem to know how to do this one, so that's a good thing. Let me put this down here. I'm going to give that center block some iron because it needs love. And it doesn't need to be squared up. It's just fine the way it is. Okay, so the next thing that I need to do is I need to figure out the rest of my flying, not my flying, yeah, my flying piece. Like I said, I dropped my silly pattern, and I'm going to bring it over here. So on my first row, if you guys can see this here, it gets laid out so that we have, I don't like that you can't see that. Let's bring the block. It gets laid out so that we have a white block and a white block at either end. And there are 8 blocks across the row. So we have a white block and a white block, and then a white block and a white block. And this was the simplest way for me to figure out what went where. And then it gets pink and green cuts here. I'm going to line these two up. and I'm going to cut them just crossways. So I built this one row at a time. Hello, work for me. There. I think it's time to change my blade. I should have changed it yesterday. I thought I did. So you get pink and green and pink and green, because that's my two colors. So this is how I did. Yeah, I think this is so much easier than trying to make all of the flying geese and then figure out where they go. If you go across one row at a time, you get your flying geese in the right colors, and you know that this is all you have. You're right. Let's come on, camera. It's acting up again. There we go. Does that work better? Hello, Colleen. I'm whispering back. So I'm going to actually start with the two flying geese here. And I'm going to do their little seamies that they need. Colleen, you being here, does that mean that Tim's infusion is over? And for me, doing this as chain piecing is not going to work, because I need to see the pieces brain-wise in order to make them match. So I'm going to do the pink, and then I'm going to put the green on it. And I'm just finger pressing it. Or maybe she's sneaking in and saying hello from the doctor's office. I don't know. Before I sew that, I'm going to line that up right. And I will press those before I put them into the row. Yes, you gotta love technology. Guys, right before I came live, I checked Colleen's numbers. I checked everybody's numbers, including mine. But I checked Colleen's, and Colleen is at 810. Unless she's got more subscribers since I got live. And I have a thread bin over here to my right. I know that the camera thing is blurring it out, but I do have a thread bin that I use for all those stray threads to go into. That little piece turned out bigger than I needed. That's okay. We'll spare it out. And this live may be longer than an hour today, guys. I apologize. But I do want to, and I didn't even get that caught. Why not, Melissa? Because I wasn't paying enough attention. I'm doing a Jenny rip. And we're going to line it back up the way it's supposed to be. And I hate ripping on bias seams because then they want to stretch. But it is what it is. We're going to turn it over and sew from the bottom so that we get the right size seam. See what I did there? I made it work. Me and Tim got Some of y'all know that I love Project Runway. I watch reruns of it regularly. Okay, so now we're going to give it a little tiny bit of heat. Can't hardly see what letters. Oh, on the laptop, you can make your letters bigger and your pictures. All right. Oh, it's big enough. I was looking at it going, that's not right. Just has to square it up. Mostly I'm just getting the stray edges off of there. Lori was talking about my ruler not having grippers on the end. Or on the bottom, the grippers drive me crazy sometimes. So now our first row is ready to go together. I know she's on her phone. You guys see what I did? I need these two colors later on, so that's fine. But I put the wrong colors in there. Actually, I put them in backwards. That's why I'm looking at. I knew there was something wrong with what I was looking at. I just couldn't figure out what it was. I will use those, so it's not a big deal. Where did I put them now? So this is the way these need to be turned. Are you guys all laughing at me yet? Because I did that. My pink needs to go on the left, but this needs to be turned down. The grippers are nice. Yeah, they are. why I said I put stuff. Come on. I'm going to have my lint roller on me whenever I get done here. And this is how that is supposed to look. Can you see I did them backwards over here? There is a reason why I do it one round. Because I can get confused very easily. I don't need comments from the peanut gallery there. Because they know. They know, they know. Hey, Tracy. Spell check is not nice today. Did you get here before I made my boo-boo? And see, I knew that Tracy would be here. And she would be the one to pick on me about my boo-boo. I'm loose. All right. Because that's my girl. My cheerleader. She's the first one to give me heck, which is not bad. If I'm doing it wrong, she's going to call me out and say, hey, wait a minute. Okay, so now we have these two, and now we're going to go across this first row. You can't do all of these in rows, but part of it you can, which is very helpful. It ends up being a block that's sewn in sections. I'm just finger pressing as I go. And the other thing I'm doing is I am making sure that my background fabric is right side up as I do this. So I had to pull an entire block out of something last night. My background fabric is white on white. And that white on white is hard to see if it's not super bright where you're working. So I put the block in that was all white on white wrong. Not once. Oh, that would have been too much to ask for. Twice. Bye, Colleen. Good luck. Oh, I'm wishing her good luck. It's her husband that's getting the maids. So far, so far. Now that I made an error. Tracy, you may get your wish today for a really long live. I hope not. I'm moving right along, but this block is interesting. courtesy clean up there. Okay, so that's row 1. That's all put together. Then we're going to go down to row 2. Row 2 is a little bit easier. You have, and if anybody notices, this block is symmetrical. So you have the rows at the top are the same as the rows at the very bottom. But you have, like I said, there's 8 blocks across. You have a white block, and then you have a pink block with the pink turned down, a block with the pink turned up, like this. And then we need, on the wrong side, darn it. I'm going to cut one of my pinks and one of my greens in half. This is why I had you guys cut all this little stuff ahead of time, to make it a little bit easier to do this part. And then, really, my rotary cutter needs a blade. Anybody want to come change it for me? I was supposed to have changed it yesterday. Okay, so then I need the green first, and then the pink. And then I need 2 of these. I need the green up that way. And put it right side up. Pink up, and then another white. So we're going to make our flying goose first before we move the rest of this row. Just taking a minute to peek at the chat, make sure there was nothing I needed to see. I am trying to keep up over there. Little heat. Just for the flying goose, because it needs it. Me and Mr. Martelli are going to have a conversation after this live is over. Find out what's wrong with him. Okay. So here's our row. We're going to start over here. 1. Remember, there's 8 blocks to a row. So when you're sewing these together, you don't count 8. And I count that flying goose as 2. If you don't count 8, there's an error in the row. That may not be helpful to everybody, but it's the way my brain thinks. Okay, so then we have to do this one. And you'll start seeing the pattern in this in just a second. soon as these 2 rows are done. If you haven't already. And I don't know about you guys, but it is not natural to talk while you sew. The hardest skill I've had to learn as a YouTuber is how to talk while I sew. I remember watching an episode of a cooking channel. Well, they're not a cooking channel, they're a homesteading channel. But the girl, Roots and Refuge, I think it was, said she was, I don't even remember what she was doing, feeding a cow, milking a cow. It's not natural to talk to a camera while you do this. I was like, you're so right, honey. And today I feel like I'm talking to my sewing machine because, of course, that's what I'm looking at. Hey, Lynn, how are you? Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate it. Mostly, Lynn, I did the news at the very, very top just so that we could make it a little easier for everybody. And then I have been sewing ever since. I need to drink water or drink in a second. I do like my little surgical snips though. They are very, 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 very handy. Thank you to Lauren Mormino for recommending them. If anybody doesn't know her, she's a bag maker. A very, very prolific and popular bag maker. I've watched dozens and dozens of her videos. Okay, so there's row 2. Hopefully you guys, yeah, you can see that pretty well. So there's row 2, and then row 3 is going to be in just a second. I need to stretch my back and get a drink. Okay. Now row 3 involves our centerpiece. So that goes in here. And you may notice that that centerpiece is exactly the same all the way around. Okay. And I'm going to bring the block over here so you guys can see it. And outside of that centerpiece, there is pink. Slide. And then we have trying to see if I can fit these in here. Wrong way. I may have to actually take these apart. Those 2 aren't going there. Okay. So the 2 I messed up on, I may have to take apart. I'm still trying to reuse them somewhere. Remember I told you guys I'm having to do this way because my brain doesn't work the other way? It is a little tricky, Lynn. This is why this one's complicated. It's not because it's such a hard block. It's just because its layout is interesting. And the layout makes my brain hurt. And this is where it got complicated for me before, was right here at this particular area. Because you need the 2 flying geese here, and then you need 2 flying geese to bridge the edge. So that outside row really needs to be done by itself, if that makes any sense. And I'm going off of my, go back where you belong. And I'm literally laying things in where they go and then coming back and sewing them. I still keep thinking I should be able to use these two. Because I messed up. I'm like, yeah, okay. So the flying geese make it tricky, but doing it with HSTs didn't work better either. The one thing that makes me feel a little better is knowing that I have done this successfully once and I can do it successfully again. And I did it successfully on video once. I have a video recorded that I've got to edit. What are we doing here, machine? Anybody else see the gremlin? Yeah. Let's see if that works now. Wow, that was interesting. My machine froze and wouldn't go. And when I turned it off, it decided it was going to go all on its own. I don't have a start sewing button on here. And the Martelli is acting up, so we're just going to do that. This goes here. So the next one. This is here, this is there. And Wanda, I've got you fooled if you think I'm doing good. I'm just doing it step by step. I guess that's the only way you can learn it, though, is just literally sit down and do. And I'm a visual and a tactile learner. Math Geek was here last week, and she gave me visual and experiential, which is a big word for hands-on, I think. But yeah, that's how I learn. Let's do it, show me, let me do it. It's kind of like med school. You watch one, you do one, you teach one. In this case, I didn't have the opportunity to watch one. I didn't find anybody on YouTube who was teaching this. I didn't find any videos that were teaching this. Let me say that differently. Anywhere. And I thought, well, somebody's gotta. Once again, finger press. And I'm using my scissors because my martelli is not wanting to cut properly. It needs a new blade, I think. Or it's got a nick in the blade, which is a possibility. Okay. So now those three are done. And these get sewn to the sides of this piece. So we're going to do that. And I am not chain piecing at this point. Because I don't want to mess up anywhere. I am looking at my other block to make sure that I'm doing this in the correct order. Now, I didn't anticipate that this was going to end up being a 2-hour live. And that's what it's looking like because I started at about 10 till. Once I get this section done, basically what I'll be doing is repeating what I've already made. And I'm going to give you guys the choice on whether you want to hang out and watch. You want me to continue? Yeah, me too, Wanda. I definitely learn best by watching and then doing it, while I'm watching. I've spent a lot of time watching tutorials, pausing them, and then going on to the next thing. But I also know people have lives. So I can continue on and finish the block, or I can save the rest of it for next week if you guys would prefer. I know what Tracy's answer is. So everybody else is what I'm looking for. Tracy would have me on here 24/7 and it would just be Lissa TV. With some limits. She might get bored whenever I go to sleep. So there's that so far. It's like being at a retreat. Okay, Wanda. That's awesome. I hope that means that my voice is calming for you and you're just enjoying the sew time. I've never been to a retreat, so I don't know. I'm contemplating the idea of trying to see if I can go to one of Stephanie's maybe. I know there's other people who do them, but I really like Stephanie. And I think that would be loads of fun. Especially if we get to be able to move to Toledo like I want. That would be nice. And I know I'm just rambling now, but I'm just sewing. If you have questions about what I'm doing, feel free to ask. If you're watching the replay and you have questions, feel free to ask. There's a comment section down below, and I do check my comments daily, if not more than once daily. If you have a question about something and I didn't answer it in the live, feel free to ask it in the comment section. I'll try to answer it there, or point you to a video where I did answer it. Okay, so that's the center section there. And the next section we're going to do, there's 2 flying geese on each side that go here. So we can go ahead and do those 2. I have too many things spread too many different directions here. Put these up here. So on each side, and I'm still trying to incorporate those 2 flying geese I did wrong. Not gonna happen. I'm gonna have to redo. It's okay. I can do that. So I have pink and green, pink and green. So pink and green. You guys still see that okay? You have to work for this one, Martelli. If you don't, I'm just gonna sling it. I scared it into working for me. Pink and green. And then I have, yes, it won't work. Really? Are you guys laughing at me talking to my little blocks here? Okay, Lynn, that's fine. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming at all. And we love the people who watch replay. Like I said at the very beginning of the live, I should probably do a courtesy roll there. Get the lint off of me. I did all the news at the very beginning. So if you missed that, that's like the first 5 or 10 minutes of the live. And then I started sewing, and I knew it was going to be long because this is a big block. Make sure I've got my fabric on right. And you guys are still good with the angle that we're working at, right? I just saw a comment about that, so I wanted to make sure. If the angle's not working for you, let me know. I did have a name I didn't recognize make a comment about the angle on a short, but the angle on shorts sometimes just is crazy. Because especially if you're pulling them out of like a longer video, like if I pulled something out of this video and tried to make the angle work, YouTube does a focus thing where it brings it up closer. And even though it looks good whenever I'm putting it up, it like enhances it, brings it down closer. I don't know what they're calling it, but it doesn't. I don't like the way it does it. How's that? So I prefer to download things to my computer and then change it how I need it. So that's one. Here's the next one. And I am trying to sew these as quickly as possible for you guys, but I'll make sure I get them accurate too. Because we want another pretty block when we get done. Purple, purple. At a random thought. Can you imagine how much longer this would be if I was a pinner? And I don't really think this would have been faster to do on the Juki, even with the thread cutter. All right, so that goes right there. It's sewn on here. Yeah, Lynn, that's pretty much what I do. That just means I have to cut another pair of blocks and a little more pink and green. Once again, I'm using the Jenny Doan method here, making sure that my first intersection matches, then my second intersection, and so on until I get to the end of the block. Did I just do that wrong, or did I do that right? It's right. Okay. Looking at it going, no, I don't know about all that. Okay. Let me take a little break. Get a drink. It's bad whenever you're looking at the original block and then you're looking at the one you just made and you're going, I think I just did that wrong. I know that I did one thing wrong though. I missed a little section of the seam, and that's probably why my brain went, what? And I know that I am not the only messy sewer in here. I cannot be. All right. Now Lori's gonna get me later because the chain piecing went out the window. She's like, what are you doing? I didn't figure out a way to chain piece much of this block, Lori, and I'm sorry. It is what it is. Come on, lay down. I don't know how mom and pop do 12-hour lives, folks. She a better woman than me. So I'm just sitting here going, okay. But she does more than just sew too, so. Although I have seen her sew all day on a live. Have you guys? That one didn't want to fold, so I had to manipulate it. My angle may be fine, but my sewing is not. That was completely backwards. So we're going to fix it. All I'm doing is taking my little snips. Piece on this because I'm too dumb to do it. Alright, so I need pink and green. Then I need pink. What I thought I was doing was going a little faster so I could get finished. That's not what's happening. I went slower. Because I messed it up. Okay. Now we got it right, I hope. Yay! So this is how it's supposed to look. That's fine. Okay. And just I missed part of my scene. We're going to fix that. Now let's give what we've got some heat here real quick. We have our top row, our second row, in this section. And I'm going to put the top row and the second row together, matching intersections. Yeah, Sherlock, I'm like, hey, this is reality. I'm not editing out anything on this since it's live. And, I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm not the world's best quilter, sewer, seamstress, whatever you want to call me or call yourself. And I have never claimed to be. I think I'm a decent quilter and all that, but I don't claim to be amazing at anything. So maybe coming up with ideas. I warn anybody who doesn't know me personally, I'm not the person you ever want to ask for, oh, what should I do for ABC? Because I will give you more ideas than you ever wanted to hear. And you will be going, please stop, ah! That is who I am. I come up with ideas like crazy. May not be able to do them all, but boy, I can give you some ideas. Coley made the mistake, and I'll volunteer too. I don't have to be asked. Colleen made the mistake of showing me something she was thinking about making as an accessory with her pig quilt she's working on. And I was like, ooh, me, I got ideas. And then I proceeded to bury her under ideas. Poor Colleen. I feel so sorry for her on that. I am a list maker at least, so when I do come up with crazy ideas, if I don't have anybody to dump them on, like poor Colleen, then I will. You like the idea of all those ideas? I'm gonna give this some heat and then I'll show you. Okay, so this is what I've got done so far. And it really needs to be squared up, and I probably should have been a little more careful about matching up my points. And this is the final block. Now, the two rows that are left to make in this are these two rows all over again. So I just need to make them again. And I am starting to make dumb mistakes. So I think I'm probably done sewing for right now. But these need to be ironed out thoroughly, pressed, whatever. But this is what it turns out like. And you're going to make those two rows as separate rows, sew them together, and then sew them to your other section. And like I said, you'll probably want to pay more attention to your points than I did just now, because I just put them together. But the pattern here, if you guys can see it, let me show you on the good block. The pattern is actually diamond shapes for your two colors. So, it's a funky looking diamond all the way around. And you sew this section together, then you sew sew the 2 rows on either end. I don't need to be looking up there. I need to be looking at you guys. But you sew the center section together, then you sew your 2 rows on either end, and it goes together really well. Now I'm going to put my picture that I drew and my cutting directions are already in my community tab. Oh, thank you, Wanda. I appreciate that very much. I'm a one-woman think tank. Oh, thank you guys. But I need to cut some more of the little flying geese pieces here. And I've already kept you guys an hour and a half. And I kind of am like, I don't think you want to watch me cut fabric and then resew them. So those 2 rows are done. You can do the other 2 rows following the exact same directions. And like I said, I do have another video coming out that will have more up close instructions for you guys, because I actually filmed that right on top of the um, sewing machine. Let me get a lint roller because I feel like I am the lint bin. It's glitter, right? We all have glitter all over us. And Wanda, I appreciate that you don't know how much positive comments make people feel better. I want to give a shout out to Diane Sozio, because she said something to me the other night in the chat and it just made my day. Oh, Colleen, you got 2 hours to kill. Is that how long it takes? I'm sorry. Thank you, Wanda. Okay, so I'm gonna say goodbye for now. Like I said, I'm at the dumb mistake point, and I don't want to make more dumb mistakes on live. I may pull some of those out as bloopers for you guys to see later, though. And I've got to recut these blocks that I did backwards or wrong. So I need to do that and get it all done. But I will put up a picture of the 2 of them on the community tab so you guys can see it and see that I did actually get it done. So that's, I don't know what else to tell you. I appreciate it. You guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with me all the way through this block, because I just was like, nobody's going to want to watch this. This is so long. You guys have a great day. Thank you. Colleen says, be the light you hope to see in others. Sylvia says, be kind to others, not because they're kind, but because you are. And I say, if they're looking that closely at the points on your blocks, tell them to go home. All right, guys, have a great day. Thank you for being here with me today.